Good morning, I'm Philip Rice from St Giles Church in Desborough with today's thought for the day. Now, in the Bible, the book of the Acts of the Apostles tells the story of the early church, and there are references to those who belonged to the Way. In other words, those who believed in Jesus and followed his teaching were those who belonged to the Way. At first, these were Jews who had found through Jesus a new way of relating to God. If you look at chapter 9 of Acts of the Apostles, you'll find the story of the conversion of Saul, who was later known as St Paul, writer of many of the letters recorded in the New Testament. The story of Saul's conversion begins with him asking the high priest for letters to the synagogues in Damascus, so that if he found any who belonged to the Way, whether men or women, he might take them as prisoners to Jerusalem. Jesus, of course, famously referred to himself as the Way, the Truth and the Life, and those who followed the Way of Jesus are now known as Christians, because we believe that Jesus is the Way, that he's the Son of God, and that he is the Christ, which means anointed one. Now, previous references to Saul in Acts of the Apostles are of him persecuting many who followed the Way, and his dramatic conversion is a miraculous turning point in the story of the early church, as the one who persecuted them now preaches the risen Christ and leads thousands more, especially Gentiles or non-Jews, to the Way. Now, last week I was in Derbyshire with my wife, visiting our son James. My other son Daniel was with us for part of the time, and my favourite mother-in-law came too. We enjoyed spending time together and exploring the Peak District. On Thursday, Carolyn, Lois and I decided to explore the Longshore Estate and Padley Gorge. We picked up a simple map from the National Trust Information Centre and chose a circular route which partly involved marked National Trust routes and other pathways that took us through the gorge itself. The National Trust routes were marked with coloured arrows on posts along the way, but the various other footpaths we needed had no such markings and proved a little more difficult to find sometimes. Halfway round our chosen route, we stopped for a cup of tea at Grindleford Station, and I spent some time trying to work out the next step of the journey. The nice lady at the National Trust Information Centre had said that we could take any path we liked from Grindleford to join the National Trust Blue route for the final stage of the walk. Now, after studying the National Trust map and another smaller map that we were carrying, turned them upside down and just about every other way you could think of, I decided that what we needed to do was to find a path that went west. So, using the compass app on my mobile phone, we set off from the station, constantly looking out for a path on our right hand side that would lead off to the west. After about a mile, having found no such path, I began to have some doubts, and I stopped to look at the map again. And I also consulted a local resident who was passing. And I realised that instead of going west, we needed to go east. In a sense, it was a good job we never found that path going west, or we should have been even farther from our destination. As it was, we had to retrace our steps to a point close to the station where we'd had our cup of tea and where we'd last been on the right track. And then we had to find a way east. We found the path, but immediately it split in two. And yes, you've guessed it, we chose the wrong one, which led us up a very steep hill through some woods. It wasn't till I got to the top to take a rest that I checked the map again and realised that we'd gone the wrong way. So we was back down the hill, back to the fork in the path, and off we went again on the right track. It wasn't plain sailing after that, but at least we were going in the right direction. And we eventually joined that blue route on the National Trust map and made our way safely back to the car park where we'd started, having added at least 3 miles of unnecessary walking on the way. Being lost without a proper map isn't so much fun. We had a very enjoyable day. Nevertheless, we saw parts of Derbyshire we wouldn't have otherwise seen, and we still got back just in time to meet James and his fiancée and her family for a dinner that we'd arranged. But it would have been a lot simpler and a lot less stressful if I hadn't tried to get mother-in-law lost and we'd gone the right way in the first place. Now God has a plan for each and every one of us. And life outside that plan just makes life more difficult and more stressful. It's much better when you go the right way. And Jesus is that way. Now, a number of us from St Giles recently attended a church growth conference online. And the main reason we want our church to grow is that we want more people to be on the right track with Jesus, because we believe that life with Jesus is better than life without Jesus. And the number one key to church growth is to pray for it. Well, why would your church grow if you weren't actually praying for it to grow? And if you want to be on the right track, if you don't want to go the wrong way in your life, then I would encourage you to turn to God in prayer and ask Jesus to be your guide. Amen. Now here's a song that Carolyn and I recorded some time ago, in which we invite Jesus to be the centre of our lives, to be the very reason that we live, to be our path and our guide. Jesus, be the centre.